Help us reach 1,000 subscribers on our new channel Lesbian Stories. We hope you enjoy the story. I stared at my camera screen, flipping through the day's shots with growing frustration. Every image looked technically perfect but soulless, like I was seeing the world through frosted glass. The late afternoon sun streamed through my studio's windows in Chula Vista, casting long shadows across the polished concrete floor. "You're overthinking again, Ruby," I muttered to myself, running fingers through my shoulder-length brunette hair. At 34, I'd built a solid reputation as a portrait photographer, but lately, everything felt stale. My upcoming gallery exhibition loomed just 3 months away, and my creative well had run dry. The doorbell's chime broke my brooding. Probably the new equipment I'd ordered, a lens that cost more than my first car. I needed something, anything, to spark inspiration. "Coming?" I called out, navigating around light stands and backdrop frames. Opening the door, I found myself face to face with apologetic green eyes and a cascade of golden hair. "I'm so sorry," the young woman said, hefting a large package. "This was delivered to my studio by mistake. I'm down in 3, but I noticed your name on it." Her smile was warm, genuine. "I'm Mariah." Something about her presence made the air feel lighter. Maybe it was the way she held herself, confident but not arrogant. Or how her simple white blouse and fitted jeans suggested someone who prioritized comfort over pretense. "Ruby Anderson," I replied, accepting the package. "Would you like to come in? Least I can do is offer you coffee for playing delivery service." The words surprised me. I usually kept my studio as private as a fortress. Mariah hesitated, then nodded. "I'd love to. Actually, I've admired your work for a while. Your Urban Solitude series last year? The way you captured isolation in crowded spaces was brilliant." I led her inside, watching as her eyes widened at my setup. She moved through the space with unexpected grace, pausing to study the portraits on the walls. Her fingers traced the air inches from a black and white print, following the lines of shadow I'd captured. "You see it differently," she murmured. "Everyone shoots cities as celebrations of life, but you find the quiet moments, the breaths between heartbeats." My coffee machine hummed to life as I processed her words. This stranger had just articulated something I'd never quite managed to explain about my own work. "Are you a photographer too?" "Trying to be," she laughed softly. "I do mostly event photography right now. Weddings, corporate functions. Pays the bills while I figure out my voice." She accepted the coffee cup I offered, our fingers brushing momentarily. We talked for hours, the conversation flowing effortlessly from technique to philosophy to personal stories. Mariah was 28, had studied art history before discovering photography, and possessed an infectious enthusiasm for capturing unexpected beauty. As the studio grew darker, I found myself sharing struggles I hadn't voiced to anyone, my fear of stagnation, the pressure of expectations. "Show me?" she asked suddenly, gesturing to my camera. "The shots you were reviewing when I arrived?" I hesitated, then handed over my camera. Mariah studied each image intently, her expression thoughtful. "They're perfect," she said finally. "Maybe that's the problem." "What do you mean?" "They're too controlled, like you're holding yourself back." She glanced up at me. "When's the last time you shot something just for yourself, not thinking about what others expect?" The question hit home with uncomfortable accuracy. An idea began forming, risky, impulsive, but feeling more right with each passing second. "I need an assistant for my exhibition prep," I heard myself say. "Someone with a fresh perspective, who isn't afraid to challenge me." Mariah's eyes lit up, but uncertainty flickered across her face. "Are you sure? You've known me for all of 3 hours." "Sometimes 3 hours tells you everything you need to know." I extended my hand. "What do you say? Want to help me find what I've been missing?" She took my hand, her grip firm and warm. "When do we start?" As I watched her gather her things to leave, I felt an unfamiliar flutter in my chest. Something had shifted in my carefully ordered world, and I wasn't sure if I should be terrified or exhilarated. Maybe both. The early morning fog rolled in from the Pacific, shrouding Chula Vista in a dreamy haze. I'd asked Mariah to meet me at Silver Strand State Beach for our first official shoot together. The location scouting would help us develop our working dynamic, and something about the ethereal morning light seemed perfect for fresh starts. She arrived right on time, camera bag slung over one shoulder, thermos in hand. The golden sunrise caught in her hair, creating a halo effect that made my fingers itch for my camera. "I brought coffee," she said, offering me a cup. Figured we might need reinforcements. You're already proving invaluable, I smiled, accepting the warm drink. We walked along the shoreline, discussing potential shooting locations for the exhibition. Mariah's approach surprised me. Where I saw geometric patterns in pier pilings, she noticed how morning joggers created fleeting shadows in the mist. What if we combined both perspectives? She suggested, gesturing with her free hand. The structured elements you're drawn to, but with human moments weaving through them. Her enthusiasm was contagious, making me see familiar locations with new eyes. As the morning progressed, we found ourselves sharing more than just creative ideas. Mariah told me about growing up in a family that valued practical careers over artistic pursuits. My parents still think photography is just a phase, she admitted, kicking at the sand. They're waiting for me to get serious about life. Mine wanted me to be a lawyer, I confessed. It took years to convince them that I could make a living with a camera. The understanding in her eyes made something warm unfurl in my chest. We were so engrossed in conversation that we barely noticed the gathering storm clouds until the first drops fell. The summer shower quickly became a downpour, sending us running for shelter under a nearby pier. The sound of rain hitting water created a cocoon of white noise around us. Mariah laughed, wringing water from her hair. Well, this adds an interesting element to our location scouting. She was standing close enough that I could see droplets clinging to her eyelashes, and something about her playful resilience made my breath catch. Sometimes the best shots come from unexpected moments, I said softly, unable to look away from how the dim light played across her features. The air between us felt charged, like the moment before lightning strikes. We spent the next hour trading stories as we waited out the rain. Mariah told me about her first camera, a beaten-up Nikon she'd bought at a garage sale. I shared the story of my worst wedding shoot, where the bride's dress caught fire, minor but memorable. Each revelation peeled back another layer, showing me glimpses of the woman behind the professional facade. The rain eventually slowed to a drizzle, but neither of us moved immediately. Something about the gray light and enclosed space made it easier to voice thoughts I usually kept hidden. Sometimes I worry I've lost my edge, I admitted, that I've become too comfortable with my style. Mariah turned to face me fully, her expression serious. From what I've seen, your edge isn't gone, it's just evolved. Maybe instead of trying to find the old one, you need to sharpen the new one. Her words resonated with a truth I hadn't been ready to acknowledge. We finally emerged from our shelter to find the beach transformed by the rain, everything washed clean and glistening. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur of test shots and creative discussions, but I kept returning to that moment under the pier. As the sun began to set, painting the clouds in dramatic purples and oranges, Mariah stopped to capture the view with her phone. The way she positioned herself, silhouetted against the fading light, created exactly the kind of unguarded moment she'd been talking about. I raised my camera instinctively, capturing her in profile. The curve of her neck, the slight smile playing at her lips, the way her hands cradled her phone like something precious. Looking at the image later, I realized it was the first photo I'd taken in months that made my heart race. Something was shifting between us, subtle but undeniable, like sand redistributing itself after a wave. The question was whether I was ready to let it. Same time tomorrow? Mariah asked as we packed up our gear, her voice carrying a note of hesitation I hadn't heard before. Absolutely, I replied, perhaps too quickly. I think we're onto something here. The smile she gave me lasted the entire drive home. The studio felt different at night. Shadows played across the walls as I sorted through the day's shots, trying to curate the perfect sequence for the exhibition. Mariah sat cross-legged on the floor beside me, her laptop casting a soft blue glow across her features. 2 weeks of working together had settled into a comfortable rhythm, but tonight felt charged with something new. What about this series? She turned her screen toward me, showing a sequence we'd shot at dawn. The images tracked light moving across urban landscapes, but something about them felt too safe, too familiar. They're good, but... I trailed off, frustrated by my inability to articulate what was missing. My usual style felt like a well-worn path, comfortable but uninspiring. I feel like I'm just repeating myself. Mariah closed her laptop, plunging us into softer darkness. Tell me about your first love, in photography, I mean. What made you fall for it? The question caught me off guard. I used to shoot street photography, I admitted. Raw, unplanned moments. No setups, no expectations. Just life unfolding in front of my lens. I hadn't thought about those early days in years. What changed? Success, I suppose. People started hiring me for portraits, then galleries got interested. Suddenly, I had a style to maintain. The words tasted bitter. Sometimes I miss the freedom of being unknown. Mariah was quiet for a moment. "Show me," she said finally. "Let's go shoot right now. No plan, no expectations." "It's almost midnight." "Exactly." Her smile was visible even in the dim light. "The city's different at night, more honest." Before I could overthink it, we were gathering our cameras and heading out into the night. The streets of Chula Vista had a different energy after dark neon signs reflected in rain-slicked pavement. Late-night workers hurrying home. Lovers sharing quiet moments in doorways. We wandered without destination, shooting whatever caught our eye. Mariah moved through the night with casual grace, finding beauty in overlooked corners. I found myself watching her as much as my surroundings, captivated by her unself-conscious enthusiasm. "You know what I love about night photography?" she said, adjusting her settings for a shot of a steam-wreathed food cart. "Everyone's guard is down. They're too tired to pretend." The words hit close to home. My own guard had been slipping lately, especially around her. We'd been dancing around something undefined, electric moments of almost touch and lingering glances. A sudden power outage plunged several blocks into darkness. Emergency lights cast strange shadows as we made our way back to the studio, laughing at our luck. The building was dark when we arrived, but I kept emergency candles in my office. "It's like a Victorian darkroom," Mariah mused as I lit the candles. Their warm light transformed the space, softening edges and creating intimate pools of illumination. We huddled around my laptop, running on battery power, reviewing our night's work. "These are different," she said softly, scrolling through my shots. "There's something raw here, something honest." Her shoulder pressed against mine as she leaned closer to the screen. "I had a good guide," I replied, hyper-aware of her proximity. The candlelight caught the green flecks in her eyes, and I found myself thinking about other paths not taken, other lives I might have lived. "Ruby," she started, then hesitated. "Can I tell you something?" "Anything." "I haven't been entirely honest. When I brought you that package, I knew exactly who you were. I'd been following your work for years. You were part of why I chose this building for my studio." The confession hung in the air between us. "Why tell me now?" "Because I'm tired of pretending. Tonight reminded me why I fell in love with photography. It's about capturing truth, isn't it? Even the uncomfortable ones." Her hand found mine in the darkness. "I think I'm falling for more than just your art." The candlelight flickered, casting dancing shadows across her face. Everything I'd been feeling these past weeks crystallized into perfect clarity. The power could have stayed out forever, and I wouldn't have noticed. "I think," I said carefully, "I've been developing feelings that have nothing to do with photography." The moment stretched between us, full of possibility. Then the power hummed back to life, fluorescent lights flooding the space with harsh reality. We blinked at each other, spell broken but not forgotten. "We should probably call it a night," Mariah said, but she didn't move away. "Probably," I agreed, making no attempt to restore professional distance. Sometimes the most important images are the ones that never make it to film. They stay burned in memory, perfect and private. That night in the studio, lit by candles and honesty, would become one of those moments for both of us. The prestigious Davidson Gallery shoot was today, and my hands wouldn't stop shaking as I set up the lighting. This was my biggest commercial project in months, but my distraction had nothing to do with professional pressure. Mariah moved around the space in a flowing navy dress, consulting her shot list, and I couldn't stop my eyes from following her. Since that candlelit night in the studio, we'd maintained a delicate dance of almost moments and meaningful glances. Neither of us had spoken about what almost happened, but the energy between us had transformed into something magnetic and inevitable. "The client wants something edgy but accessible," Mariah read from her notes, making air quotes. Whatever that means. Her laugh sent warmth spreading through my chest. She'd become indispensable these past weeks, anticipating my needs before I could voice them. The gallery space was stunning, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, modern artwork adorning pristine walls. As we worked through the shoot, I found myself increasingly distracted by small details. The way Mariah's hair caught the light, how her dress swished when she moved, the graceful line of her neck as she adjusted equipment. During a break, while the clients reviewed preliminary shots, Mariah and I retreated to a quiet corner to discuss the next setup. "You seem tense," she said softly, reaching up to squeeze my shoulder. The innocent touch sent electricity through my body. "Just want everything to be perfect," I managed, hyper-aware of her proximity. "It already is," she smiled, and something in her expression made my heart skip. We stood there, suspended in the moment, until a client's voice broke the spell. The rest of the shoot passed in a blur of technical adjustments and artistic direction. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows through the windows, we found ourselves alone in the gallery's private viewing room, reviewing the day's images on my laptop. "These are stunning," Mariah murmured, leaning close. Her scent, vanilla and something uniquely her, filled my senses. "You've outdone yourself." I turned to thank her and found her face inches from mine. The air between us crackled with possibility. Slowly, giving her every chance to pull away, I closed the distance. Her lips met mine with a softness that made my heart ache, and the world narrowed to this single perfect moment. The kiss deepened, years of unspoken longing and suppressed desire flowing between us. My hands found her waist as hers tangled in my hair. Everything felt right, like puzzle pieces finally clicking into place. We were so lost in each other that we didn't hear the click of a camera shutter. The next morning, I woke to frantic texts from my agent. The first one contained a link, and my stomach dropped as I clicked it. There, on a popular gossip blog, was a grainy but unmistakable photo of Mariah and me in the gallery's viewing room, locked in an intimate embrace. The headline screamed, "Renowned photographer's secret romance with assistant, scandal at Davidson Gallery." My phone buzzed with Mariah's call. "Ruby," her voice was tight with worry, "have you seen?" "Yes," I cut her off, mind racing through implications. The exhibition was weeks away. My conservative clients, Mariah's fledgling career. Everything we'd built could crumble under the weight of public scrutiny. "I'm coming over," she said firmly. "We'll figure this out together." After hanging up, I stared at the photo again. Despite the sensational headline, there was something undeniably beautiful about the image, the way the setting sun painted us in gold, how our bodies curved toward each other like flowers seeking light. In another context, it could have been one of my own artistic shots. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd spent years capturing intimate moments between others, and now my own private moment had been exposed without consent. The photographer in me could appreciate the composition, but the woman in me felt violated. My doorbell rang and I took a deep breath before answering. Mariah stood there, looking somehow both vulnerable and determined. "Whatever happens," she said, stepping inside, "I don't regret it. Not any of it." I pulled her into my arms, breathing in her familiar scent. "Neither do I whispered against her hair. We stood there, holding each other in my sun-filled entryway, knowing our world was about to change, but finding strength in our shared defiance. The question wasn't whether we could weather this storm, it was how we would emerge from it together. The fallout from the leaked photos spread like wildfire through Chula Vista's art community. My inbox overflowed with messages from clients, some supportive, others coldly professional in their withdrawal. Mariah and I sat in my studio, coffee growing cold as we scrolled through the responses. "The Davidson Gallery wants to discuss our contract," I said, rubbing my temples. The morning light seemed harsh, unforgiving, and 3 wedding clients have already canceled. Mariah reached across the desk, intertwining her fingers with mine. "My clients are nervous too. One asked if this would affect my ability to maintain professional boundaries at their event." Her attempt at humor couldn't quite mask the hurt in her voice. "We could deny it," I suggested half-heartedly. "Say it was a misleading angle, or—" "No." Her voice was firm. "I won't hide who I am, who we are." She squeezed my hand. "Unless. Do you want to?" The question hung between us, heavy with implications. I thought about my carefully built career, the respect I'd earned in the industry. Then I looked at Mariah, really looked at her, and saw everything I'd been too afraid to reach for. "Never," I whispered. "But we need a strategy." We spent the next hours planning. Instead of hiding, we decided to control the narrative. I called my agent, who surprisingly saw an opportunity. "Your exhibition," she said, excitement creeping into her voice. "Make it about authenticity, about capturing real moments of connection. Use this." Mariah's eyes lit up as we discussed possibilities. "What if we included behind-the-scenes shots? show the real process of creating art, the vulnerability of it. The idea took root, growing into something bigger than either of us had imagined. We worked through the night, reimagining the exhibition as a celebration of genuine human connection in all its forms. Each image would tell a story of authenticity, not just in love, but in friendship, in art, in self-discovery. Days blurred together as we threw ourselves into the work. The Davidson Gallery, after initial hesitation, embraced our new vision. Other clients followed, drawn to the honesty of our approach. Some doors closed, yes, but unexpected ones opened. One evening, as sunset painted the studio in amber light, Mariah looked up from her editing. "Remember what you said about missing the freedom of being unknown?" I nodded, moving to stand behind her chair. "Maybe this is your chance to find it again. To shoot what matters, not what sells." She was right. The pressure to maintain my carefully crafted image had been slowly suffocating my creativity. Now, ironically, public exposure had given me permission to be more authentic in my art. We developed a series of self-portraits, not the polished, perfect kind, but raw captures of us working, laughing, creating together. Each image challenged conventional narratives about professional relationships, about art, about love. The threatening messages still came, of course. Conservative clients expressed their concerns. My parents called, full of awkward questions and thinly veiled worry. But for every negative reaction, we received 2 positive ones. Young photographers wrote to thank us for showing that success doesn't require hiding who you are. Late one night, as we reviewed the exhibition layout, Mariah found the original leaked photo. "Look at this objectively," she said. "As a photographer, what do you see?" I studied the image that had caused such chaos. Beyond the sensational context, I saw 2 people completely absorbed in each other, backlit by golden hour light. It was, technically speaking, a beautiful capture. "I see love," I said simply. "Nothing scandalous about that." Mariah smiled, the same smile that had first captured my attention all those weeks ago. "Then that's what we'll show them. Love, in all its forms." We fell asleep on the studio couch, surrounded by prints and possibilities. The exhibition was 2 weeks away, and we had no idea how it would be received. But for the first time in my career, I was creating without fear, not of judgment, not of failure, not of being seen. Sometimes the most powerful art comes from the moments we're brave enough to be ourselves. In trying to expose us, that hidden photographer had inadvertently given us the greatest gift, the courage to stop hiding. Opening night at the Davidson Gallery hummed with anticipation. The space had been transformed. Photographs hung in deliberate sequence, telling a story of evolution. From my earliest street photography to the most recent intimate captures, each image traced my journey not just as an artist, but as a woman learning to embrace her truth. "Ready?" Mariah appeared beside me, stunning in a black dress that made her eyes shine like emeralds. 3 months ago, she delivered a package to my door. Now, she was my partner in every sense of the word. The exhibition, titled Unmasked Moments, opened with my traditional work, the controlled, perfect shots that had built my reputation. As viewers moved through the space, they witnessed the gradual transformation. Each photograph became more raw, more honest, until they reached the final series. We'd titled it Behind the Lens, intimate moments of 2 artists at work, captured through timer shots and mirrors. Mariah and I reviewing images, laughing over coffee, lost in creative discussion. The controversial leaked photo hung among them, recontextualized as part of our story rather than scandal. The crowd's reaction exceeded our expectations. Art critics praised the bold vulnerability. Fellow photographers recognized the technical skill behind even the most candid shots. But most touching were the young couples, some holding hands openly, others still hesitant, who saw themselves reflected in our journey. Later that evening, as the gallery quieted, Mariah led me to a hidden corner. "I have a surprise," she said, unveiling a covered photograph. "I've been working on this in secret." The image took my breath away. It showed me in my element, camera raised, completely absorbed in capturing a sunset. But what struck me was how she'd caught the exact moment I turned to look at her, my expression full of undisguised love. "That's how you see me?" I whispered. "That's how everyone sees you tonight, completely, authentically yourself." The success of Unmasked Moments opened unexpected doors. We received invitations to curate similar exhibitions across the country, celebrating authentic love stories through photography. Our work became known for capturing genuine connections rather than posed perfection. 1 year later, we stood in that same gallery space, but this time it was Mariah's exhibition opening. Developing Love showcased her journey from assistant to acclaimed photographer in her own right. I watched proudly as she navigated interviews, her natural charm winning over even the most skeptical critics. "Remember when you said sometimes 3 hours tells you everything you need to know?" she asked later that night, as we slow danced in the empty gallery. "Seems like a lifetime ago," I murmured into her hair. "You were right, though. I knew that first day, delivering that package, that you would change my life. I just didn't know how completely." The exhibition's centerpiece was a recreation of that first meeting, a split-second capture of me opening my studio door, the sunlight haloing my surprised expression. Beside it hung the leaked photo that had almost derailed us, and finally, a recent shot of us in our shared studio, completely at ease in our creative partnership. "What's next for us?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. We'd started planning our own photography workshop series, teaching others to find beauty in unexpected moments. "Everything," Mariah smiled, leading me toward the gallery exit. "We have everything ahead of us." As we stepped into the cool night air, I thought about how art, like love, requires courage. The courage to see beauty in imperfection, to capture honest moments, to let yourself be seen. Sometimes the most powerful images are the ones that remind us we're not alone in our vulnerability. The city lights sparkled around us as we walked home, hand in hand, cameras hanging at our sides. Tomorrow we'd start another chapter, capture new moments, tell different stories. But tonight, we were just two artists who found each other through a misdelivered package and the courage to embrace unexpected light. Life, I've learned, has a way of bringing us exactly what we need, even when it arrives in unmarked